computer, and it started. Yep, it has no indication of that. So welcome to Treasury Guild call. It's 18th April, May. I guess May, yes. Summertime feels did not expect. And today we're gonna have a bit more discussions on general ambassador program and related to budgeting. So I brought almost 4 weeks ago, we had this nice little Cambridge explosion about the licenses and some tokenomics. So I stripped all the informations that got resolved and understood, and only left the ones with purpose stickies and the context around him. And yeah, because we got a lot of content, I guess we could start. Because I feel like everything may not require a big discussion. So let's just explore like the outer sets of these purpose stickies, these action items, where they are, what we do next, and keep the work in between the weeks. Does anybody feels that's the right way to go, or wants to share something? And I noticed that I already mentioned that one topic today would be the updates on stateful operations.
Well, something, honestly, I'm on mobile, so I can't read anything on the Mira board, not gonna lie. But I think the subscriptions are on there. I did not start the monthly subscription for Read AI, but all the others, so far I haven't. So if it's signed off, I would like a list for subscriptions to get started on them. That being said, I do think we pretty much agreed to a list.
Yeah, I do also feel that we created the list, but I wonder, did we have a call somewhere where we also created it as an action item?
No, we didn't.
But previously we did
don't think that happened.
Had like different GitHub, YouTube Studio, Brosu, MyRobot, the GitHub, Adaba tools, Gitbook. So yeah, we technically don't have a proper list. I would say if David hasn't worked on it, because it's at some point it felt like he did something. Maybe I'm mistaken. We could create a Google form to collect.
I think we at some point we had a sheet with a list of stuff and also totaling the amounts. I believe it was up to $200 total on a monthly note.
Yeah, I recall that as well.
Yep. I think it's a similar thing.
Would be, where is this list? But
I think Fly made it, so maybe it wasn't in this meeting. I think it was an incubation or something like that.
Yeah, it can be. We'll ask him for the list because I do think it was signed up, so we could just. Now I can properly log into the account. I will simply connect everything to the SingularityNET, to the ambassador Gmail. That should be it. So I think practically speaking, for now, there's not too much attention needed to this. And I do have another smaller point I want to bring up is there was some. I did the payments for the backlog of both you, Tavo, and Felix, and also Kran and Fly. However, there's still one tiny portion remaining of video work Fly did for editing the town halls and putting them online, and also including a subscription for Adobe's Premiere, I think. Yeah. And I was wondering, do we just proceed with this and pay out, or does this spend on anything? Because he did send me this list before in private, and I told him like, well, it's not really my decision as such.
There is also in that conversation, because I wasn't in that meeting where the retroactive payment was finally discussed, and I myself had 1 month that was never paid for the video work that I did, and since I wasn't in that meeting, well, it wasn't brought up, I guess. And, yeah.
No, it's true. It's true. And well, so that's in a way it's included in the same topic. And thinking of this, also the Fries DeFi yesterday mentioned for work he was doing for, I think it's an education work group.
Yeah, educational guild, I guess in April, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So 3 would be the outstanding retroactive payments.
Also, I have a little comment on the subscription payment. Since that subscription was personal, do we have access actually, since the whole program is paying for it, do we have access to Fly's account? Can we use, for example, I personally use Premiere as well, and
I think
I'm paying it from my own pocket. I mean,
I think he only has the Adobe Premiere. Specifically, he was calling that one out for $25 a month.
yeah, I'm personally using it as well. Does the program pay for that?
Well, ideally, and that's what we're setting up with these subscriptions, we would have a shared account. So we don't pay for every individual user. Because then we would be paying like $400 every month just for Adobe package.
Yeah, I mean retroactively. Do I include that retroactively as well, since I used it as well?
I guess. I mean, yeah, if you simply bought it just for doing that, I guess that's fair.
It's not it. I'm just trying to set up like a kind of a, because I understand, but in the same time, it feels weird to me. I don't know, like because again, you might get a subscription for something, but then use it for many other things, like I do personally, and then
yeah, of course. Well, then, yeah, in a way, it makes sense to do like an estimate percentage, perhaps. I would say this is just I'm saying this not as a rule, but as just what comes up in mind. So if you know, like, well, I do like a quarter of the stuff I spend on ambassador program for Adobe stuff, then I guess a quarter of compensation would be in place.
Can I comment on this, Peter? Because I don't know, it doesn't sound straight to me, because if I'm doing like a certain editing for a video, let's say, okay, you hired me to edit the video for a certain meeting. You assume that I have the tooling to do that certain job, right? Otherwise, I couldn't do it. So the tooling is included in the task itself. Like when I ask someone in the video work group, can you make this video? And they make their video, they don't ask me to pay for their subscription. That doesn't make sense.
If I could say something, I would like Premiere Pro as well. So if I could get compensated for me as well, it would be amazing. But that's just starting to compensate everybody for the tools to do the work. And I can't help but agree with Rojo that it is a little confusing.
Yeah,
I feel that's where the shared account comes in, right?
Yeah, I think this is where.
I mean, if it is an ambassador Premiere Pro account, then yeah, by all means, that's awesome. If everybody can take part in using it. But
yeah.
I think that's
with the tooling and rewarding, I guess that would be that we could get these licenses for ambassador program, well, like ambassador email, and that license is then paid. But if somebody needs it more, I think we are going to, now I get the feeling that we should actually push it to the edge so that the person who needs that tool and the provided SingularityNET account is not enough, then he buys that tool because he's just more effective, and this is because he also gets these rewards. So it's like the game between, because the person is building his assets based on like the work he's doing, and if he feels like the tools are too costly for him, he's basically not gonna take these tasks up. On the Adobe Premiere, my experience is that I think that only allows one license, 2 devices. So that is
true.
Yeah.
I
On this
personally,
specific on this
Go first,
specific,
Ron.
thank you, Rojo. On this specific topic on the whiteboard about retrospective rewards, is that for Ambassador Town Hall or is that deep funding Town Hall?
The work Fly did for
Yeah.
for the ambassador town halls.
It's Ambassador Town Hall. Okay, not deep deep funding, because there seems to be a thread of conversations that he's brought up that deep funding is different and out of a different treasury than ambassadors, if I'm understanding it correctly. And I would just like to understand that.
Deep funding town hall was a proposal what is submitted by Singularity as well. And this is funded from project deep funding, right? While executing, it's Roadshow, Fly, and Grandana mostly. So it's all of them are ambassadors, but deep funding town hall and the rewards have nothing to do with ambassadors program per se.
I think Felix, why the conversation was brought up in the chat is because some of the tasks that I included in my March tasks, which are kind of negligible to be honest, but anyway, a couple of them were from defunding town hall, and it was pre the time when we got the funding, so it was before the funding, so we never got the rewards for that. And I personally looked at it from that time. I looked at it as an ambassador kind of work and part of the program basically, but apparently it is not.
Thank you. So
That's
my understanding now is that deep funding is different from the ambassador program, and there is allowed double dipping then.
Yep.
Well, the reasoning that would be, since it's different, it's not double dipping.
Yeah, true that.
Yeah,
True, actually.
sure. So to just propose a solution for this, I would propose to add a little bit to the amount that was given for each task. For example, for each town hall editing, we can add a little bit to it instead of paying a subscription. I believe that's a better way to go about it, because I personally believe that it's better to incentivize people to use their tooling when it's possible. Of course, if it's something like Read AI, we can't all subscribe to Read AI. But if it's something like Adobe Premiere or Adobe Creative Cloud and all these things, Canva, I use Canva as well. You personally pay for this stuff for your personal use. I mean, and if you're doing any video related stuff, of course you have these already and you pay for them already. So we can compensate a little bit for it. Instead of, for example, giving $20 or $15, we give $16 or $21. But to pay for a personal subscription, I don't think that's fair.
Well, the baseline, I kind of agree. It's tricky though, since this is something in the past. Like Fly made these costs already. Initially, he requested for to be compensated for the license even based on the token price of that date, which I didn't see the logic and told him like, yeah, that's not making sense. Sorry, yeah, well, it's hard to.
If it was agreed upon, there is nothing we can say. But again, it should be compensated obviously with the token price of today, not of the past, because he paid for it in dollars or euros or whatever. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. But yeah, if it's agreed upon already, the cost went. Maybe he didn't have it before and he had to subscribe, so that's fine. But for the future, it shouldn't be that way, in my opinion.
No, I agree, and I think that's the way of going about it. As in a lesson learned, because I don't know, I don't want to have this whole big fight over whether we pay somebody for, I think it's what's five times the subscription of $25. Whether we pay a total of $125 or $75. Like, let's try to prevent that unclarity in the future and learn from it in that way. I think that's more productive than arguing over a couple of tens of dollars.
For sure, yeah.
Is it clear how these rewards will be collected. Are they going to be like a single Dework task, or there will be clear way in Treasury that we just import it in, bundle into transactions and let it go? Or these are going to be like one task and we have to manually add the cost, total cost?
Well, let's keep it simple, please, for everybody involved.
Okay, so
if you could describe the easiest way to process this from Treasury side, I think then Fly will happily submit it in that way on Dework, I imagine.
So we expect a single Dework task that has total cost in Dework title. And in the description, we want just how many months of this tool. And then how many videos, I guess. Yeah, it's hard to kind of estimate hours. Yeah.
Well, for the task, the hours will be quite clear because he did an X amount of town hall edits, and yeah, you just use average time and multiply, right? So I think that will be fine. Also, I think he cares more about getting compensated for the costs he made than the gimbals involved, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Does this compensation include the tooling or the edits as well? Like, is it different? I couldn't understand that part.
Well, he made a sheet. He put this in the ambassador only chat earlier.
Yeah, I checked it out. Yeah,
that includes both the work and the license.
Because as far as I'm aware, the work is part of the retroactive that was already paid, wasn't it?
Well, David didn't quite agree with that.
Well, okay, then that is very interesting. Then. Maybe we should postpone this talk when Fly is here, because yeah, this is not looking good.
Yeah, I cannot quickly find a link to. To me, it feels like clear right now. All we need is like a Dework test, that Excel file into there, that kind of clarification of what is there. If it's possible that estimation of time, then you can include it into also tokenomics, and that's that will be it with this one. Yeah, another thing, yeah, we had the subscription list stuff. Oh, actually, yeah, this already was in discussion, Google form to capture tooling costs and use cases. So this was from 4 weeks ago that actually had that active action list was already expected. And then we also discussed about email domains, but not sure did anybody has done with anything with that, so we can leave it as that. Then on Treasury system and governance documentation topic, we did get clarification that, but it brought up new action items, set up read AI to different GUI calls. So this has happened, so I'm going to put it green. And yeah, like you mentioned, now we also have a license to do that more effectively. So this is even greater. And then another thing might be relevant information under governance framework workshop, planning metadata standard workshops, work group to June. So technically process modeling work group started. We are not planning metadata. Okay, I know, I understood it. Okay, so this is still in ongoing things. Because yeah, we started governance work groups. We probably going to work on the proposal first. Once we get the framework down, then we move to the next month and see if we are still needing the metadata standard, or so that we put the governance framework document on chain.
Tivo, can you explain what is that process again? I couldn't understand what needs to be done about the metadata standard, basically.
Let me see what if I open this up. Where does it lead to? Yeah, Treasury Manager, right. So there was several, I don't know, maybe a few months ago, like when you look at this window now, on the left side, you will see that these are Dework exports. These are not like columns of data we are exporting. And we have created this metadata standard, like how do we collect our contributions, title, label, wallet, what ADA tokens it gets. And so this is a standard. But now we're also looking into, if we do documentation and like this, like Google Docs and stuff, how could we make a similar standard? So we basically use Cardano blockchain as our database to track what decisions were made, what documents were made, what edits were made. So that we would be like able to know which is the latest and most aligned documents on chain.
Thank you.
And yeah, metadata standard, basically we have to just prove, see if this what we drafted is good enough. We have like document creator name, description, document URL, meta map for like custom stuff, consent and signature nominates, amendment map, and yep. But that's a more of a future story. But then we will have also like a new use case for our governance activities. I'll put this here. It was so now about SingularityNET Ambassador program stake pool. What is the like latest and greatest information from Foundation about this? I think we slightly perhaps discussed it somewhere else. Now, what is the current state? Is it remains the same that SingularityNET doesn't really care what we do?
Peter, that's for you, I guess.
Yeah, I understand. But there's no objections at all. There's also, practically speaking, not going to be, as I mentioned before, not going to be a lot of support based on a stack of ADA sitting around, which could be used for this.
Could there be like an integration with the new staking mechanism that is happening? For example, having people that are staking with the stake pool as considered as like stakers on Cardano, same as in the Ethereum side, but just with the stake pool mechanism.
Well, those people would be staking AGIX tokens, not ADA, right? Unless I'm misunderstanding, but
we can track. I mean, yeah, I guess that's technical, but we can track like, for example, the way how World Mobile is doing it. They're tracking your wallet and seeing if your AGIX is staying in that wallet for a specific amount of time. If yes, then you get extra rewards and stuff like that.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure. No, sorry, I thought you meant like to utilize the AGIX that will be once it's implemented on Cardano, that will be sitting in a pool to utilize that. But yeah, it's a different token, so you can't. Well, there's this. I think it's Deep Funding founded proposal for keeping that kind of keeping track of that kind of mechanisms. Or not mechanisms, but keeping track of wallet age and using that in all kinds of reputation calculations. So that's in a way in progress.
In related but slightly different, would there be any interest or end game for us to invest in hypercycle nodes and run those?
I think timeline-wise, that's too far off for now to worry about. I think the beta participation, that's even that's a little off time-wise. And then public, where anybody can join in, that's a year plus, I feel.
Yeah, I think let's keep it simple, and I think these discussions perhaps are more relevant for then like stateful work group, because one thing all this document led into, we prepared the onboarding discussion. We thought we go into this last week, but we were on different topics. So we have quite a big list of people interested. Are we going to prepare like, basically we can, I see your asynchronous discussion. I'm not sure, do we have a specific channel for that yet? Yes, we got stateful incubation channel.
Yeah, we do.
So
CryptoFly also shared some insights about like the profitability of making our own stake pool and all these things. There was a conversation about it basically.
Yep. So I think with this one, do we want to incentivize this work group, or we will do more like few events or like gatherings, go over the document, create the execution plan, or not, or decide not to go down the road of creating a pool, and then this will be it, because the pool will be running. All the rest of the like marketing or like discussions will be already integrated automatically to the marketing guild, I would assume. Like having a little channel somewhere or link somewhere that, hey, we have this pool now, and every few months perhaps, or sharing information and that related to pool if it's necessary, like keeping up to date with the events and yeah, stuff.
Chivo, I think it will be really nice if we can basically ask the people involved to create like a breakdown of how will that work, like an execution plan to be made, and how will that, basically some expectations of outcomes, like how will it be profitable, how will it help, for example, the ambassador program and all these things. And if that can be done, then we can judge it with a little bit data-oriented mindset, because right now we don't actually know.
Kind of know. There are many people who run stake pools there.
Yeah. Is this an intention to have additional alternative income sources to the ambassador program?
I would actually say two things. One, potentially yes. And second thing is that it's also a branding opportunity, because when we look at like a long-term plan, these blockchain environments will get larger, and there will be need for more stake pools. And if we are already in the game, it's much easier to kind of distribute, and we don't even know how the Cardano governance will go, but hopefully towards a way that we are going to lose these large multi-pools, and then delegation will even more decentralize, and then the rewards will be looking for brands and mission-driven stake pools that have an impact and don't have multiple stakeholders. And third one is because of this Cardano governance, and we are on Cardano protocol, we may need some practice on making decisions on with the stakeholder, because they're gonna be one of the voters too.
Well, the reason I asked, just thinking down the road, if it is, branding is a great reason for it, but if it is for looking on alternative methods of income, I would suggest, and I might, take this back to strategy, but should we have a forward-looking work group or think tank on profitability or what methods of creating profit for the ambassador program? And that would look just like, I'm in a couple of different DAOs or NFT projects. One is investing in World Mobile Token. One's looking at Hypercycle. They're looking at all different ways of making income for the members, and that's a specialty into itself. But it has to be forward thinking. So just throwing it out there if that is the reason.
Also, to add in a small detail, I was before I wasn't referring to like the technical difficulty or the technicality of the job, but more of like, okay, what will be the upfront cost for us, for example, because we have to convert the AGIX to a certain to ADA, for example, to lock it in the stake pool, not lock it, but put it upfront for the stake pool, like this kind of cost, like I don't know, running the stake pool itself has a couple of upfront costs and stuff like that. Like if we can do that before, that would be nice. Do this calculation.
The upfront, Roger, the upfront cost can be minimalized, and it's not a big number from a business perspective. The issue is tracking stakers. It's how do you get people to put in large amounts, because you need some stupid ADA in there, stupid amount of ADA, from my understanding, to really start creating blocks and making money. And that's the real secret to a stake pool, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Yep. At the start, there is a quite high possibility that the Cardano Foundation will support, or even IOG, because of the close relationship. But with that boost, if that does come, there will be a lot of work needed to do, because then the delegators will see that, yes, they will get rewards as from any other pool, but we need to kind of make them also stick. Anyway, so coming back to this, do we incentivize work group or we basically run 1-2 sessions to hash out the solution and decision?
Well, my thought is that it's mostly ambassadors in there, though CryptoFly is weighed in, and she's, from what I see, and she's realistic, mostly negatory on the project. But if we do want to proceed with it, we need all the brains that we can, and the people that are not ambassadors, especially if this is aimed towards profit. We should incentivize the non-ambassadors that are in the program. But I think there should be a time frame on saying yes or no on this. It can't be an open-ended incentivization, I don't think.
Okay. I guess for now, then the first things we will have it when, let's say, when we do 1-2 sessions, and let's say we're gonna do it bi-weekly. How long we want to give it? So, like the first workshop, do we want to start it in next week, or we actually do more like a scheduling, and then so this week we do scheduling, and then next week people will be putting their times on that on basically the last week of this month, Monday to like 29th to Friday, the 2nd June. We do the first workshop, and then in middle of June we do a second workshop, and then we do the decision. Or we go straight into workgroup and skip the scheduling and just say, this is the time and place, let's go.
I would choose that. I would go for the latter.
Okay. And this will speed it up. So, but even with the latter option, do we straight do it next week, or we give it a little headwind between people to organize their schedule?
Tivo, by the way, for the technical side of things, like setting up the servers and all these things, do you have something in mind that perhaps I don't know about?
I'm not sure what you're asking.
Who's gonna set up the servers and who's gonna do the IT work?
Isn't that something for the work group to work on, Rojo?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I don't know. I was wondering maybe there is some back thoughts or something that's already there. I don't know.
Two people in the channel already mentioned that they provide it as a service, so it's basically maybe perhaps not a button click away, but close to that.
Yeah, and I know both of them. Laurus, he's running Stakepods on Cardano since the ITN. Nori as well. And yeah, both of them are professionals. So
I mean, great. That's already a good start, to be honest.
the good thing with them is it doesn't actually cost you to run a pool if you don't mint blocks. You only pay for the service if you mint blocks as well. So for example, it wouldn't cost anything. For example, let's say it takes a time to build up delegations, but we wouldn't have to pay anything at this time.
Do we also know something about the infrastructure? Like what types of servers do they use? Is it hosted over cloud or bare metal, something like that?
Yeah, for sure. But this, I think, then is more for the work group, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Fleshing all this out.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I'm just now noticing that the people that have this like the opposite of time zones, when we say first workshop, should we do two of them, like two different time zones, one early, one later, on the same day?
I think it's great to have a first meeting more in the time zone for Eastern folks.
So 2 workshops, one earlier, one later. And we just drop in dates, see what people think, and if there is a massive disagreement or a request to change, we do it. And from the call here, what would you say? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, which sounds nicest?
To me, Friday would be nice.
Friday, we have 3 hours of meetings already, I believe, unless something's gone bi-weekly. But what about right after town hall and your other meeting there? Can we do it afterwards or make it part of town hall as a breakout room or something like that? First time?
Which town hall? Ambassadors or deep funding?
No, ambassadors. I think it's gotta be ambassadors.
That's too late for me, Tommy, by the way.
Ambassadors have a town hall? After town hall?
No, not that I know.
That's process guild, basically. That's the breakout room.
Okay. We could take it into process guild too.
Yeah, yeah, that's a
So we can make one early call on Tuesday and one late one.
That's a late call, and then early call. The early call. Where do we put it? Do we put it Thursday 8 UTC? Okay.
Or maybe we can check in with CryptoFlight as well, because mostly it's also moving there so that she can join. And I think she's in New Zealand, Australia, something like this.
New Zealand. Is it that the same as Robert O'Brien? So basically Eastern Town Hall time?
Exactly. Yeah, Eastern time zone.
Yeah.
So
yeah, then it's
usually,
fine. Yes.
Everything till latest should be something like 13 UTC.
Okay, let's do then prepare these workshops and do we incentivize workgroup? I did hear like, yes, we should incentivize people attend. So perhaps, how about like $200 between everybody who attends in AJX except ambassadors?
So we would see how many attendees we have after the 2 calls and then split it equally amongst them.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, and if they repeat today, yeah, okay, so let's just one. Okay, fuck it. Yeah, let them figure out. I guess it's not about rewards at all in that case. And this would be then for both sessions. Although if you do it twice, I wouldn't. Another thing is it's easier to say that, okay, we have these 2 different workshops. What happens on Thursday 19 UTC? Is it deep funding count still? Because I'm not sure, like we want to spend process guild time twice. Community governance ends usually 20 UTC.
We quickly need to jump off table. I'm back in 1 minute.
Okay, I'm actually changing this up. I'm gonna turn it into Thursday. So this is it's easier to when we say it's this call, this is when it happens. We quickly say bi-weekly, like yeah, in 2 weeks, same place, same time, and less issues. And this should be a good enough time. Yep, after the little jumps into town hall time, depending if town hall or community governance time. Okay. Or alternatively, we move it to Wednesday. But I don't know when the statute ends. Okay, so let's do it like this then. Prepare workgroup. We have some rewards we give out. We don't mention that, I guess, until the end of the meeting. And we need we're basically gonna have a Dework task to the quest wallet.
I think from the participants there, we will most likely have all the addresses already.
True.
But creating a task for each call to capture the attendees there too. Because I think actually not 100% sure on the dollars, but Schindel tokens definitely should be distributed to recognize participation.
Yeah, that's for sure. Okay, cool. Then this hard topic was, I think, went over. We have some more clarification here. And there are now few items. So let's see, we have privacy concern discussion still, potentially too much metadata. Okay, that's an interesting one. We have, so we have Stefan and Slu here, and the rest of us, we kind of know this issue. We made a rule that we don't pay or reward people if they only have gotten gimbal rewards until 1 month has passed, and then we reward for all the gimbals he has accumulated in like an aggregated fashion. And that reason was created so that we don't run into, so that we don't pay every week like on 20 to 40 ADA just for transaction fees, because of the minutic requirement. And we hope that they will pay basically 4 times less. But what happened is now that looks like our metadata then gets too big that we have to do 2 transactions anyway. So we can like see and wait few more weeks, like until the next, basically end of this month, and see if we run into more of these issues. If we do, we might as well reduce the amount of to like not collecting the payments for 1 month, but for example 3 weeks or 2 weeks, so that we have a better like time transactions on chain instead of monthly, which we have to do twice a year. From Slu or Steven, does it make sense? And the proposed changes and next steps?
Sorry, I just came from the archive workgroup, so I'm kind of a bit out of the loop what you're talking about, but is this related to gimbal rewards?
Yes. So okay, so what we have is, when we had a few weeks ago, now actually a month ago, a rule that when you get gimbal rewards, but you don't get any AJAX rewards or ADA rewards or USD rewards, then you don't get rewarded for the contribution on the upcoming week transaction like call. Instead, you will be waiting until any other contributions will get AJAX USD, or when 1 month passes, and then you will be, all your work will be aggregated into together and rewarded. But with this rule now, what happened, like a lot of transactions, like these contributions bundled together, and the bundle size was bigger than the Cardano could accept. So we have to do 2 transactions anyway. So now I'm like coming back, should we start like reducing it right now, or we wait until we run into the same issue again and bring it down to like 3 weeks or 2-week cadence instead of waiting for 1 month?
And what does it say in the metadata? It just says it comes from Treasury Guild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from the perspective of someone who receives the transaction, you know, that's all the information they're going to get. I suppose if, you know, they just need to know where it comes from. I suppose if you're doing it on a shorter cadence, then you won't encounter the metadata limit problem. Is that what you're saying, to?
Yeah. Until we have more contributions in 1 week that because yeah, this week was crazy. We had like I think 300 lines or something. So yeah.
I mean, in principle, I don't see a problem with receiving more frequent payments unless there's an overhead for the person who is producing that, as a kind of way to get around the immediate problem. But as you say, you know, if contributions increase, it may still be a problem in the future.
Yeah, we're going to do payments every week anyway, but it was that how do we reduce the amount of fees?
Does it matter if you don't max out the amount that a transaction will allow on Cardano? Are you still paying the same price, or does it matter? Because if you're still paying the same price, if you're better off just maxing out the transaction with the most data it allows.
Yeah, it's hard to kind of technically could make tooling to maximize metadata, but yeah, that's a harder thing to capitalize.
Yeah.
One thing I did notice, which we kind of did it, well, there is no right or correct way, but what we did was we split the transactions into groups. So we said like, okay, Treasury Guild and Ambassador program, all the like general stuff, they were bundled into one, and all the other guilds and work groups were bundled into another transaction. But now I realized that we would actually save fees if we would have grouped by people. So these people are going into one bundle transaction and these people go another bundle transaction. Actually, I don't know how much we actually, maybe just a minuscule amount of data.
Andre was going to say something, Andre?
No. Just wanted to, people made a good point. In the future, we can bolt tools that can help us save on these fees. But I think for the having a solution now, just maybe the bi-weekly or every thing that makes the most sense. And what Devo said now, maybe distributing, just take a bunch of people and try to maximize that.
Okay, so then I guess because it feels like we have the most clarification what the next steps, and then if we run into this issue again, we reduce the amount of the frequency basically to 3 weeks. Yes. So every 3 weeks if the people haven't received any more AGX, USD or any other rewards, then every 3 weeks they will be included into bundle transaction. And if we run this into, okay, so technically we just keep doing it until and reducing the cadence. So if we have 3 weeks and we still run into this issue, then we do it 2 weeks, so on. And then one, and then it's basically back to the basics. But yeah, even though we saved this month around 40 ADA for transaction fees, so this is the change does work. If you, yeah, so with that, I will then, so now you know, I will include it in meeting summary also, so that everybody also knows that this is going to be changing. We're going to pay more frequently, which costs ADA rewards, but they're going to cost anyway because we are hitting limits of Cardano protocol as of now. Yeah, so thanks for joining. Today in the call, we got through a bunch of stuff and some emergent issues that needed to be addressed. So we are on a good track. For the next week, I feel like we may need to come back to the workgroup proposals and the budgeting, but I will let some asynchronous discussion happen in Treasury channel. Oh yeah, and also the discussion of what to do if hourly rewards or like hourly estimations are not done for tasks or outputs. How do we go about that? How do we kind of make sense of that situation? And how do we move collectively together where some people record their activities per hour and some people record them as projects or outputs? But for today, we went, yeah, okay, I wanted to go into summary, but just got lost in tangent, so I do a little summary again. So under license discussion, we are still preparing the list of subscription. However, Read AI license is bought for now. That was a quick need we needed. We have implemented Read AI fully to our ambassador program now. With the governance workgroup, we will be moving that to the future discussions. As of right now, we will be working on the framework document itself. With the stake pool discussion, we got quite far. We are going to plan a workshop between Thursday in between this June. Not sure what date it actually is. It's going to be 2 sessions in one day, early call and late call for different time zone people. And then we're going to do a repeating session next week so that we can finalize our decision. Do we want the stake pool and how do we, and who is going to be in team to execute on that. And final item from the Treasury Guild discussions were the issues of metadata. And there is now a parameter plan to reduce the rule frequency to match make it easier for Treasury to do the transactions. And at the first action item we talked about was also retrospective rewards for Fry. So in here we will be expecting a Dework task with the total cost and a little bit description of what is rewarded for this retrospective rewards, and then we get this budget under control too. Did I miss anything? If not, then this is it. Stop share.